All right, welcome back to Data Center News Asia. I am on my own because James is at the DC Byte HQ in their volcano lair in the center of London. So I will be coming at you with this week's news. I'm going to start a little bit unconventionally because we don't normally ask for your help or support on this show. We just waffle about data centers and then post the videos and stuff. But we do have two opportunities for you to work with us now. So you may have seen James's LinkedIn post yesterday. We've just recorded our second of the new series of In Conversation with Serene Na, the Managing Director of Digital Realty APAC. Our first recording was with Emmeline Tang, the Chief Technology Officer of Digital Edge. And we have a few more A-list guests lined up. And we're looking for companies that we can partner with who might have something interesting to say and an interesting service offering or product for our customers. We don't want to be one of these weird podcasts about health foods that is sponsored by McDonald's. But yeah, we're looking for partners for that series. And also doing a redux of the paddle tournament, which we did at DCD in Bali. I think Doggy Paddle is a better name than Pups X Paddle, but ultimately it's a paddle tournament that will be raising money for dog shelters. And yeah, as last time, Zero DC kindly sponsored the trophy, Stultz sponsored the ice bath, the chillers, and we'll be looking for similar kind of sponsorship deals for that. And we'll be doing that the weekend, the Friday before Data Center World Asia, which is the day after the tech capital, Singapore. So there should be plenty of people worth meeting in town, and that'll be fun. All right. On with the news, if you haven't tuned out after that 30 seconds. So the first one I'm going to do is the Stack story. So I'm recording this on Monday, so this was officially dropped just a few hours ago by the AFR, but I think most people have been aware of this for a little. It's still fairly recent, so not that long. But anyway, Stack going public, or I don't know. The Street Talk is revealing that Stack has a 864 megawatt contract with Amazon Web Service said to be the leaseholder. Stack don't usually comment on customers, so I'm assuming that is the AFR taking some liberties and or having sources there. I'm of course not a pioneer myself. We're a content aggregator. I don't do investigative journalism. But yeah, so this is interesting because obviously Stack have been flaunting this or asking, IPI have been asking for this $30 billion valuation, which for context, I think a lot of people were initially surprised by. The biggest data center transaction in the world ever was BlackRock, GIP and MGX acquiring Aligned Data Centers, $40 billion. Aligned's a massive business and their projects were all in the United States and markets that typically attract very high valuation. The second biggest, which was also the biggest in APAC, was the Air Trunk deal. And on paper, you'd look at Air Trunk having a wider presence with significantly more live capacity at the time of sale than Stack. But then if you look at this, so you look at the Stack platform and say they've done very well to build up this pipeline in this project in Johor, and they have good pipeline execution projects in Japan. But of course, Australia is, from an investment perspective, easily the most bankable and easy to value against market in Asia. And I haven't got the maths in front of me as to what 864 plus their previous Australia pipeline, which was also pretty, but basically it would mean that they're contracted, and a lot of these valuations now seem to be based on the contracted book size, not necessarily the active revenue generating, and they would have a pretty enormous contracted pipeline of capacity with AAA rated American customers. Yeah, good for Stack team. Congratulations to James and Ralph and everyone else involved in that. Sticking with Australia, NextDC have raised an additional $500 Australian dollars. I'm going to do this in Australia. I'm going to do everything in US dollars, but I know we have got the. I have got the. So it's 347 million US dollars that they've added to their senior debt facility. So senior debt facility is a debt facility where you borrow the money and those creditors are at the front of the queue if the company were to go bankrupt or belly up or whatever. And typically listed companies, big companies like NextDC, would have a proportion of their debt as this senior debt, which is a bigger burden, but often borrowed at a better rate. So this means that their total senior debt facilities. The new facility, this is part of a facility they were raising already, announced in May, which is 1.6 billion US dollars, 2.3 billion Aussie, and they now have a total senior debt facility of 6 billion US dollars. Now, I am going to switch to Aussie here because they file in Australian dollars. So where that's interesting is Next has a market cap of 10.2 billion Aussie dollars currently. So that's versus a debt amount of 8.7 Aussie. But you normally benchmark it against the EBITDA. And so this is again where we're looking at now how people are valuing data center businesses. NextDC, and this is I'm not spoiling anything here, this is listed, so you can all find this on Google. NextDC's underlying EBITDA most recently was about 112 million Aussie per half. So that would be 220 odd averaged over the year, although that's not their forecast to be higher. But they are expecting over the next couple of years for that to rise to $1 billion EBITDA Aussie, based on the contracts they already have in place. Yeah, a higher ratio, and obviously this is a more and more debt-intensive industry. But yeah, good news for NextDC raising that there. This is announced. This was part of supporting their continued upside efforts and continued expansion and continued new construction. So yeah, good, interesting one there for NextDC. The last one on Australia, I have to start doing Australia on a separate news show, to be honest. They're hogging the limelight these days. It's rapid development down there. There's an IoT firm called X2M. IoT is a term we used to hear a lot, isn't it? There was around some of the metaverse. IoT is one that I was much more a fan of, although this is the live data points that feed into real-time analytics, which obviously drives AI capacity. But yeah, so this is a data center being built in Ballarat, which is, if you look on a map, it's like some Melbourne, Geelong, which is also where NextDC are building, which is a nice part of the Great Ocean Road. And then Ballarat is like up here, it's kind of further out actually, but near to some of the data centers. I remember the DCD article here for this one. It says potentially ranging from 10 to 100 megawatts and a 10 megawatt battery. So bit of a non-story there, I suppose, but wrapping up Australia. There's a lot of financial news this week. SK Hynix. So this is not direct data center news, but I did want to flag it because SK Hynix is value. So SK Hynix is one of the producers of the high bandwidth memory HBM DRAM that goes into making the data center chips, and that particularly used in AI processing, along with Samsung. Goldman Sachs analysts earlier this year made the statement that Samsung, they were calling a $4 trillion company, which is obviously a great rise from where it is, but in terms of its massive portfolio capability and its dominance of this market, and SK Hynix is really up there with them. And so this is selling 17.8 million shares in a US IPO that would raise another $28 billion for them. So yeah, interesting. Selling the picks and shovels, if you will. Japan, let's do Japan. North Asia, we're sticking on North Asia. Checking my timing there. So Japan, this is at Tokyo's new site in Nagoya, which I didn't actually get my map. So this is in the Chubu region. There you go. That's where it is. This will be, I've got actually very little news on this one, so I'm going to probably edit a lot of this out. Okay, let's go to India after that one. So there's a company called Webyne, which is not a company I'm massively familiar with. They're building in the Delhi and NCR region. So these guys are a cloud provider locally. So India has a quite fragmented cloud market, local clouds. It goes quite strict sovereignty rules. They obviously don't allow Chinese clouds to operate in India. So yeah, it's got a lot of like local domestic cloud business appealing to different subsegments of the market and different geographies, which makes it pretty exciting as an offtake market. And this company has 9 megawatts distributed across they got one of their own data centers, 1 megawatt of their own capacity, and then they use 9 megawatt worth of cloud capacity, and they're going to build out 100 megawatts of new capacity and demand. So these guys that's quite interesting. So keep an eye out. If you're developing in India and you're looking for, you're struggling to get an international hyperscaler, have a look for Webyne. These guys look like they're saying they're going to buy 90 megawatts in 12 months. That's aggressive. There you go. Sticking with India, Digital Edge are looking to develop 270 megawatts in Mumbai. This is Green Integrated Park in the city of Palava. Okay, so this is not near there. This is the Loader facility. This is the Loader Park. So Loader is a real estate developer, and this is the park that I think Amazon and STT already agreed to go to. I'm sure that's public. Digital Edge, of course, are the Stone Peak backed platform for APAC. Their India presence, for those of you who are not aware, is a 300 megawatt campus in Navi, Mumbai that they announced in 2024, and the first building is already live, I believe, and others are being built. So Digital Edge making big progress here. This was almost double the size of their India campus, or I believe, having looked at the load of pitch deck for this, that this is quite far in the development process. So I'm not sure how quickly that translates to an RFS because it's not in the traditional Nagoya buy area. But yeah, to keep an eye out for that one. And lastly, I'm actually not doing very well here without James. This is another story I don't know that much about. So Malaysia's Global Telecommunications Group, like 3 people sent me this for a 36-acre parcel in Kota Seri Langat, which is in Selangor, which is Johor, popular area for data center builds there. Yeah, this is a massive campus, potentially. The parcel was sold by Compass IP. Yeah, Compass IP is in itself a joint venture whose ownership is not completely clear. And Malaysia's Global Telecommunications Group is in itself a private telecommunications subsidiary of Global Data Infrastructure, SDN Berhad, which is also a privately owned company, the parent company. So yeah, not one that I'm massively familiar with all the details on there, but yeah, that's a big plot of land, and yeah, there's a picture of it here which I'll have up on the screen, which shows how it's been subdivided into little parcels and such. So there you go. All right. I know I'm going to say happy Friday because we're so consistently late putting these videos out that it's